For 3 years, I believed I was building a family. Megan had Hannah. I had Owen. We moved into one house, combined our bills, our routines, our disappointments. I attended Hannah's school meetings, paid for braces, fixed her laptop, and waited in parking lots after rehearsals when her biological father forgot to show up. I never asked her to call me Dad. I only hoped she would eventually call me family. She never did. To Hannah, I was Ethan when she wanted something and my mom's husband when her friends were around. She mocked the way I dressed, rolled her eyes when I offered advice. Whenever someone assumed I was her father, she corrected them immediately. "He's not my dad." Always sharp. Always loud enough for me to hear. Megan would give me that exhausted look and whisper, "She's a teenager. Don't take it personally." But disrespect becomes personal when it lives at your dinner table. The only place I still felt useful was the garage. For months, I restored a 1968 Ford Mustang. The body had been rusted, the seats torn, the engine nearly dead. I rebuilt it piece by piece after work, sometimes until 2 in the morning. Owen helped when he could, handing me tools and asking why I cared so much about making it perfect. I told him it was for Hannah's 16th birthday. She had once stopped beside that car and said it was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. I remembered that sentence. Apparently, I was the only one who did. A week before prom, Megan suggested I drive Hannah in the Mustang. The paint was finished by then, deep blue, polished until the garage lights floated across it like stars. Hannah stared at me as if Megan had suggested something humiliating. "I'd rather walk to prom than let Ethan drive me." The room went silent. Owen looked down at his plate. I looked at Megan. She said nothing. Not one word. Hannah picked up her phone and continued scrolling. Something inside me ended quietly. No shouting. No threats. No dramatic speech. That night, I photographed the Mustang and listed it for sale. A collector from another state called the next morning. He understood what the car was worth. More importantly, he respected the work. 3 days later, a transport truck rolled into our driveway. Hannah came outside when she heard the engine. "Where are they taking it?" "I sold it." Her face tightened. "Why?" I looked at Megan. This time, she looked afraid. "It was supposed to be yours," I said. "For your birthday." Hannah went pale. Megan covered her mouth. The truck carried the Mustang away while all 3 of us watched. The sunlight flashed across the chrome one final time, then disappeared at the end of the street. Only then did Hannah understand what she had rejected. But understanding after a loss is not gratitude. It is grief with better timing. I canceled the driving lessons I had paid for. Stopped covering Hannah's shopping trips, salon appointments, and endless emergencies. When she wanted money, I told her to ask her parents. Megan begged me to reconsider. "She's still a child," she said. "No," I answered. "She's old enough to decide I'm not family. She's old enough to learn that family benefits do not come without family respect." Prom night was not the entrance Hannah had imagined. Her friend's ride canceled. She spent an hour calling people while her dress hung over a kitchen chair. Eventually, she squeezed into the back seat of an old sedan with 3 other girls. I watched from the window. I felt no victory. Only exhaustion. After that, I stopped trying to buy a place in their hearts. I invested in Owen instead. We spent weekends fishing. We rebuilt an old motorcycle together. He thanked me for small things. He listened. He noticed when I was tired. In his company, I did not have to prove I belonged. Megan eventually understood that we had lost more than a Mustang. She had taught Hannah that my love was automatic, my money permanent, and my dignity negotiable. She was wrong. I spent years believing sacrifice could create respect. It cannot. Gifts only reveal character. The grateful become closer. The entitled simply ask what comes next. The Mustang was never the real loss. The real loss was the family I had imagined while they were busy reminding me I was only useful. So tell me, was I wrong to sell the car and finally stop giving, or should I have endured being treated like a stranger in the home I helped build? I never told Hannah that the Mustang had been hers. There was no point anymore. Some truths only matter before a choice is made. After that, they're just evidence. The garage felt strangely empty after the collector hauled the car away. For months, every spare evening had been spent inside those walls. The smell of fresh paint, motor oil, and polished chrome had become part of my routine. Now there was only a bare concrete floor where Hope had once been parked. Owen stepped inside and looked around. It feels weird without it. I nodded. Yeah, it does. He didn't ask why I sold it. He already knew enough. Children notice far more than adults think. He had heard Hannah's comments over the years. He had watched Megan excuse every insult. He had seen me swallow every disappointment with a forced smile. Dad? I looked at him. Can we build something else? That simple question hit harder than Hannah's rejection ever had. Someone still wanted to spend time with me. Someone still believed I was worth following into the garage. The very next weekend we found an old motorcycle frame at an estate sale. Rust covered almost every inch of it, but the engine block was intact. Most people walked past it without a second glance. We loaded it into the truck together. For the first time in months, I felt excited. Inside the house, the atmosphere was completely different. Hannah barely spoke to me. Megan watched me constantly, as if she expected me to apologize for something. Instead, I simply stopped volunteering. No more surprise shopping trips. No more offering to repair Hannah's phone. No more late-night drives to pick her up because someone else's parents were unavailable. Whenever Megan asked, I answered calmly. Her parents should handle that. Each time I said those words, she looked wounded. Finally, one evening she cornered me in the kitchen. You've completely changed. No, I replied. I've stopped pretending. She crossed her arms. You're punishing Hannah. I shook my head. No. I'm accepting her decision. What decision? She decided years ago that I wasn't family. I finally believed her. Silence settled between us. For once, Megan couldn't dismiss my words as oversensitivity. She knew exactly how many times Hannah had humiliated me. She remembered every dinner where her daughter corrected strangers. Every birthday. Every holiday. Every family photo where Hannah insisted I stand at the edge instead of beside her mother. She had seen it all. She had simply hoped I would continue enduring it. I thought you'd always be there, Megan whispered. I was. And now? I'm still here. She frowned. But I'm only here for the people who actually want me. Her eyes filled with tears. You've divided this family. I almost laughed. No, Megan. I didn't divide anything. I just stopped being the bridge. That conversation spread through the house like smoke. Hannah overheard enough to understand what had happened. The next morning she asked Megan why I wouldn't pay for her driving lessons anymore. Megan quietly answered. Because he was paying for them. Hannah frowned. I thought you were. No. Ethan was. For the first time, uncertainty appeared on Hannah's face. She began noticing things she had ignored for years. The insurance on the car she practiced in. The birthday gifts. The vacation deposits. The braces. The laptop. The field trips. Every receipt carried my name. Every sacrifice had been invisible because I had never asked for credit. Now there was nothing left to hide behind. She couldn't rewrite history anymore. She had spent years telling everyone I wasn't her family. Now she was discovering just how much of her life had been built by the man she refused to acknowledge. Respect had never been something I could purchase. But its absence had finally become expensive. And everyone in the house was beginning to understand the cost. Hannah did not apologize. Not at first. She moved through the house with the wounded pride of someone who believed consequences were another form of cruelty. She slammed cabinets. She spoke to Megan in whispers whenever I entered the room. Once I heard her tell a friend that I had sold the Mustang just to humiliate her. I stood in the hallway and listened. Months of work had become revenge in her version of the story. My sacrifice had disappeared again. That was when I understood that people who benefit from your silence will often rewrite you as the villain the moment you finally speak through your actions. I did not confront her. I went back to the garage. Owen and I stripped the motorcycle frame down to bare metal. The work was slow, dirty, honest. Russ did not pretend to be anything else. A damaged part never blamed the mechanic for noticing the damage. Owen asked questions. I answered them. Sometimes we worked without speaking. That silence felt different from the silence inside the house. It was peaceful. One Saturday morning, Hannah appeared in the garage doorway. She wore an oversized sweatshirt, her arms folded tightly across her chest. I kept sanding the fuel tank. She stared at the motorcycle. "Is that what you bought with the Mustang money?" "No." "What did you do with it?" "I put most of it into savings." "For Owen?" "For myself." Her expression changed. She had expected another answer. She had become so accustomed to my money flowing toward everyone else that the idea of me keeping something seemed almost offensive. She stepped closer. "Mom said the car was supposed to be mine." "It was." "Then why didn't you tell me?" I stopped sanding. "Would it have changed what you said?" She looked away. I waited. "No," she muttered. The honesty surprised me. She dragged her shoe across the concrete. "I didn't know you were doing all that for me." That was the point of a surprise. Her eyes moved toward the empty space where the Mustang had stood. "How long did it take?" 9 months. She swallowed. "And you sold it because of Prom?" "No." Her head lifted. "I sold it because Prom was the moment I finally accepted what you had been telling me for years. I was angry. You were always angry with me. Because you kept trying to replace my dad." The words landed between us, but they no longer had the power they once did. "I never tried to replace him," I said. "I replaced his absence. There is a difference." She opened her mouth, then closed it. For years, she had defended a man who appeared when it was convenient and disappeared when responsibility arrived. Meanwhile, she had punished me for staying. I wiped the dust from my hands. "You were allowed to love your father. I never asked you not to. But loving him did not require treating me like an intruder." Her face tightened. "You're acting like I hated you. You told your friends I meant nothing. You corrected anyone who called us family. You said you would rather walk than be seen arriving with me. I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" She had no answer. Her eyes filled, but I felt no satisfaction. Tears did not rebuild respect. They only proved that something hurt. "I thought you would keep trying," she whispered. There it was. The truth. Not that she loved me. Not that she regretted hurting me. She had simply believed my effort was endless. "You thought I had nowhere else to put my love," I said. She looked toward Owen's workbench. His tools were arranged beside mine. 2 stools. 2 pairs of gloves. 2 unfinished cups of coffee. For the first time, she saw that I had somewhere else to go. Someone else to teach. Someone who did not treat my presence as an embarrassment. "Can I help?" she asked. The question came so quietly I almost pretended not to hear it. I looked at the motorcycle, then at her. "Why?" She rubbed her sleeve across her eyes. "Because I want to understand what you do out here." Months earlier, I would have handed her a tool immediately. I would have mistaken curiosity for affection and a single soft sentence for change. But I had learned to stop rewarding promises. "Not today," I said. Her face fell. "Why not?" "Because respect is not one conversation, Hannah. It is what happens after the conversation." She stood there for several seconds, wounded but listening. Then she nodded and walked back inside. That evening, Megan accused me of rejecting an attempt to make peace. I told her peace was not the same as access. Hannah wanted forgiveness because the loss had become visible. I needed to know whether she regretted the wound or only the consequences. So I waited. For the first time, the burden of proving we were family did not belong to me. For the next 2 weeks, Hannah changed in ways so small that I almost missed them. She stopped leaving dishes in the sink. She began answering when I spoke instead of pretending her phone was more important. When one of her friends came over and called me her father by mistake, Hannah did not correct her. That silence was the first apology she ever gave me. But I did not reward it. I watched. Respect performed for a few days can be another kind of manipulation. People become polite when they want the door reopened. Gratitude is easy when something valuable has been taken away. I needed to know who she would be when nothing was being offered. Owen noticed the change too. One evening, while we were fitting the motorcycle's rebuilt carburetor, he glanced toward the garage door. She keeps watching us. I followed his gaze. Hannah stood behind the kitchen window, half hidden by the curtain. Let her watch, I said. Owen tightened a bolt. Are you ever going to let her help? I don't know. He was quiet for a moment. She looks sorry. Looking sorry and being different are not the same thing. He nodded, but his expression troubled me. Owen had every reason to resent Hannah. For years, he had watched her receive my attention, my money, and the best parts of my patience. He had helped me restore a car that was never meant for him. Yet he was the one asking whether she deserved another chance. That realization carried its own shame. I had spent so long trying to prove myself to Hannah that I had overlooked the child who had never asked me to prove anything. The following Saturday, I took Owen fishing. We left before sunrise, carrying coffee in metal cups and our rods across our shoulders. Mist covered the lake. The world looked unfinished, waiting for light. Owen sat beside me on the dock. Did you wish Hannah was your real daughter? The question came without warning. I stared at the dark water. I thought she was my daughter. That isn't what I asked? His voice held no accusation, which made it worse. I set my rod down. I wanted her to accept me, I admitted. Sometimes I wanted it so badly that I gave her more than I should have. More than me? There are questions a father can answer quickly. That was not one of them. Yes, I said. Owen looked toward the horizon. The truth sat between us like another person. I noticed, he whispered. Those 2 words cut deeper than anything Hannah had ever said. I had told myself that my sacrifices made me noble. I had imagined I was holding the family together. But every hour spent chasing Hannah's approval had been an hour Owen learned to live without me. I had not only allowed myself to be used. I had made my son pay for it. I'm sorry, I said. He shrugged, but his jaw tightened. You always came when she needed something. I know. When I needed something, you said I could handle it. I thought you were stronger. So I got less because I complained less? I closed my eyes. There was no defense. Parents often reward the loudest wound and neglect the quietest child. We call it necessity because admitting the truth would mean recognizing the damage we caused while believing we were doing our best. You deserve better from me, I said. Owen finally looked at me. Are things going to be different now? Yes. Even if Hannah apologizes? Especially then. He nodded slowly. That promise mattered more than the Mustang, the motorcycle, or every dollar I had spent trying to build the illusion of balance. When we returned home, Hannah was sitting on the garage steps. She stood when she saw us. I cleaned the workbench, she said. I looked inside. Every tool was arranged neatly. The floor had been swept. Even the old rags had been folded into a box. Thank you, I said. She waited, expecting more. I carried the fishing gear inside. Behind me, she spoke. Ethan, I'm sorry. I stopped. The words were soft, but this time there was no request attached to them. No driving lesson. No money. No car. She stared at the floor. I treated you like you were trying to steal something from me. But you were the one giving everything. Megan stood in the kitchen doorway, listening. Hannah continued. I kept defending Dad because admitting you cared more would have made me feel guilty. Her voice broke. And Mom let me do it. Megan flinched. For the first time, Hannah's honesty reached beyond me. It reached the person who had protected her from consequences. Megan stepped forward. Hannah. No, Mom. You always told him not to take it personally. But you never told me to stop. The room became still. Megan looked at me, and I saw something collapse behind her eyes. Not anger. Recognition. She had mistaken avoiding conflict for keeping peace. But peace built on one man's humiliation is only silence with furniture around it. Hannah wiped her face. I don't expect you to forgive me. Good, I said. Because forgiveness is not a prize you earn with one apology. She nodded. But you can come into the garage tomorrow. Her head lifted. To help? To learn. It was not reconciliation. It was not trust. It was only a door opened a few inches. Sometimes that is all mercy should be.